Hi, welcome to the first episode of Homeschool Handicrafts. I'm Kendra, this is
Tori,
and we started this channel because we are in a homeschool group with some other friends and we're in 4-H, and we've noticed that even though there's lots of ideas on Pinterest, sometimes it's a little hard to know where to get started. What supplies you need? Can you really accomplish this? So my purpose for this channel is to give you not only ideas on fun things to make, hopefully things that are cheap, easy, and useful. Like what we're making today. This is a bookmark made from a Kleenex box that is just stitched with embroidery thread and added a little ribbon at the top. So give us a few minutes and we'll show you our desk. We'll get started. Bye! Welcome back to our desk. So today we're going to be making some bookmarks. This is the first one that I made out of a Kleenex box. I just cut this edge off that had the pretty design on it and cut it to the right shape, punched some holes, embroidered it, and I think it looks pretty good. Lots of fun. But now we're going to make one that's a little bit different. These are the supplies that you're going to need to make this bookmark. Some cardstock. This is actually pretty thick. This is actually more along the lines of a Kleenex box thickness or a cereal box thickness. If you have some white, that would be fine. You can also use the other side of a Kleenex box or a cereal box that has the brown solid color. That will work just fine too. You're also going to need a ruler, a pencil, and some scissors, and this is going to cut out our bookmark. We're also going to need something to punch holes. I have this sewing awl, but you can use pretty much anything you have that would punch a hole. I also have a thick needle and a thinner embroidery needle, and I'm going to show you here in a minute why we need both of these. I also have some ribbon for the bit at the end, some colors of embroidery thread, and then I picked out some colored pencils that match this. So let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to need to cut our paper to be the correct size. I have this handy dandy little cutting mat that I love. This is not necessary at all. You do not have to have this. This box is already about this paper is about 6 3/4 long, which is perfect for me, or I guess wide. But you're going to want it to be no more than about 2 inches wide. Any wider than that and it starts to look a little weird. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a line at 2 inches. And then I'm just going to cut along that line. Try to make it as straight as you can because curved lines look a little better, but if you mess up a straight line, boy, it's pretty noticeable. I'm going to go ahead and get this cut out. I'm having some issues with it for some reason. Should have used my bigger scissors. Okay, we've got our bookmark cut out now. And then I want to show you something else. Now, these are pinking shears. You never ever ever use sewing scissors to cut paper because it will dull your scissors. However, these are scissors that I use just for paper, so it's okay for me. I'm going to go ahead and cut the edge of this paper because I want it to look fun. So if you do have pinking shears, then it's not quite as important that you get your first cut straight. There's also lots of fun scrapbooking scissors that have lots of different designs, lots of squiggles and things like that, and those are kind of fun to use as well if you have access to them. Oh look, I just had an idea. How cute would this be if you put a monster face on it and these were the teeth? That would be so fun. So we're going to go ahead, cut this off, and then I'm going to show you we're going to actually embroider a word on this one. Unlike the one I did with the Kleenex box, the one with the Kleenex box, I just used the design that was already on it. And I thought that was plenty cute. They've got lots of cute designs on Kleenex's boxes these days. So here is my bookmark all cut out. And then I printed this on the computer. It just says read. Real simple and easy. So what we're going to do now, we're not going to trace this on here. We're actually going to punch the holes. So what I've got is a couple layers of felt. This is just cheap felt from Hobby Lobby. Put it underneath your bookmark. Put your bookmark down and then try to center your word if you can. And sometimes it might be a little hard to see. It is helpful if you use a darker felt so you can kind of see around it. That looks pretty close. So now I'm going to take my awl, or you could take a needle or anything else that you have, and you're going to punch holes around these letters. Try to space them equally distant apart, but it's not that big of a deal if you don't get it just right. So I'm going to go ahead and punch these holes, and then we're going to see what it looks like when it comes out the other side. So I'm going to start up here in the corner and just punch the holes in the corners first. That makes it just a little bit easier to follow. Make sure you get the insides of your letters. And then now I'm just going to try to evenly space them apart. Sometimes it's just a little bit awkward, but do the best you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. Another hint is to make sure you do not lift up your paper until you have done the entire word, because if you lift it up right now, you're going to have a hard time getting the rest of your word to line up correctly. So we're just going to go ahead and continue to punch our holes, doing the corners first, and those will kind of cement your paper in the right place. This is kind of a big spot. There we go. I'm just going to keep moving along. So go ahead and punch your holes with me. You can also pause the video at this point if you need to focus on getting this done correctly. It's a little intimidating sometimes to get it done just right. There we go, I'm almost done. Make sure on your curves that you catch a hole at the corner of the curve, because if you go from here and your next hole is here, your thread is not going to make that turn. It's just going to cut across at an angle. So you want to make sure if you have a curve that you want to catch that curve. Now, you do not have to do a letter or a word. You could do a flower, you could do an animal. I just printed this off of Microsoft Word in a font that I really liked, that I thought would be simple to stitch. You can find anything that you like that looks good. All right, I'm going to peel it up. Let's see how it looks. Well, not too shabby. I didn't do too bad. I can see it. I do see a few spots on the letter R here where I didn't punch it all the way through, so you might want to go back and double check. It'll be much easier if you use a bigger punch to start with. Actually, I do see where, let me see, R, nope, there's my E right there. A, D. I might need another spot right here on my A's. There we go. That looks pretty good. So now we've got to decide which colors we want first. This part is always the hardest for me. Maybe like this. Alright, I like the darker colors on the end and these other colors kind of in the middle, because my ribbon is this same pink. So if the pink was up here front, it would look odd with the ribbon being next to this other color. So I'm going to put the pink near the bottom. This is the color I'm going to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my blue thread, and you can see that I've used this one before because I've wrapped it up and it's a bit of a mess. Get about 18 inches or so of your thread. You also do not have to use thread. You could use yarn, although your holes would need to be a little bit bigger. You could use baker's twine, you could use any kind of string. You could also use just regular sewing thread. Though if you use regular sewing thread, I would suggest you need probably at least 3 of the same length at the same time. This is giving me all kinds of fits. It's what I get for hurrying up and wrapping it around and not taking my time. So get about 18 inches or so of your thread. Ha-ha! Success! Now, embroidery thread comes in strands of 6 twisted together. You're only going to need 3. So I've already divided this blue into 3. And let me check. What I want to do first is take my regular embroidery needle that I'm going to use to sew with and see if it fits through the holes easily. If it doesn't, oh yeah, that was nice and easy. If it didn't fit, I was going to use a little bit bigger needle to punch the holes, but the awl worked just fine, so I don't need that. I'm going to give you a little hint on how to thread a needle. Has anybody ever had any trouble threading a needle? I have. So I found this trick and I love it. This is what you do. You cut this as sharp as you can so it's exactly even, and then I lick it. Now squish it in between your fingers to where it's hidden, and take the eye of your needle, I don't know if you can see that, and push it right down in between your fingers where that thread is, and almost every single time it will thread it for you. Super easy. I also have another trick. There's a couple of different ways that you can tie knots. There's actually about 3 different ways that I know of. Sometimes younger kids have trouble tying a knot with this little tiny string. So this I have found is something that's pretty easy, almost everyone can do. You take the string between your pointer finger and your thumb, hold it down, twist it around, and then use your thumb to roll it off. And as you roll it off, it'll make a nice knot. Can you see that? Alright, we're going to get started. What we're going to do here, we're going to start with a stitch called a running stitch. And this is how it works. We're going to come from the back side up. So our knot is on the back. Pull it through. And then we're going to go down into the next hole. We're going to come up. Sometimes it helps if you flip it over. We're going to come up the next one and then back down. And you can see that it's leaving gaps, but we're going to clean that up here in just a minute. It's a lot easier to just do a running stitch and then do another running stitch over the top of it, especially on paper. Fabric, you can do a back stitch a lot easier, but if you're going to see the back of something, which we will on this, you want it to look as smooth and clean as you possibly can. So we're just going to do what's called a running stitch. Just up and down like you would do with a lacing card. Oh, that reminds me. Sorry. You can also do, if you've got young ones that want to do this as well, you could also make these into lacing cards, but you could use like a hole punch and do a pattern, and then they could lace right along with you, possibly using a blunt nose needle or a yarn needle, something like that, so they can feel like they're participating too. So I'm going to go ahead and work myself around this letter R all the way back to where I started, and then I'll show you what we do. And we're going to repeat this on every letter that we use. So you might not do the word read. You might have done your name or your child's name or your best friend's name. You might have something like hello on it. These also make really fun gifts for people, or little surprises when they're not expecting anything. Just kind of something fun to say hi and I love you. Okay, so we're back here to the top. Now I'm going to come back to the hole that we started with. And then I'm going to come back up here and back down. And that fills in the little gaps so much easier than trying to do a back stitch. Back stitch is kind of hard sometimes if you've never done it before. So it's just real simple, up and down, up and down, up and down until you get all the way around. So we're going to do this with every letter that we have. When you finish your first letter, you're just going to tie a knot and cut your thread. Pick up your next color thread if you're doing different colors like I am. You don't have to do different colors. The best part about handicrafts is that you can make it however you want. I might be showing you how to do this, but you don't have to follow my pattern. You don't, oops, I almost missed it right there. You don't have to do exactly what I'm doing. You don't have to do the colors I'm doing. You can do something completely different. The point of this video is to just show you how to stitch on paper. You can make it your very own. So now here we go. I'm almost back to the front. Oh good, I ended down. So now what I need to do is come in here to the middle and do the same thing. In and out, in and out. And I'm getting close. Do you see now, embroidery thread, you always leave a little bit of a tail. And then as you get further and you start using up your thread, you move your tail down just a little bit. And that makes it easier than to try to hold just a little bit of thread at one time. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So here I came up. I need to come up right here so I can finish this. Here we go. Uh-oh, got a tangle. So what I'm saying is if I had started out just with a tiny little bit of thread like this holding on, you might pull your needle out and have to rethread it. So it helps if you have about 2/3 of the length of your string and then just about 1/3 down here, and then that way you don't ever pull too much out at one time. Okay, my R is almost done. And there it is. Looks pretty good. So I'm going to turn this around on the back, and here's another way to tie a knot. Just tie a knot like you would on your shoes. Super easy. Use your thumbnail or your thumb to kind of hold it down. And because there's a hole there, I think I'm going to go ahead and make this a double knot to try to make it a little bit bigger so it won't pull through so easy. But you're not going to be pulling on these threads too much since this is a bookmark. Alright, let's see how it looks. It looks pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is take my blue pencil and color this in. If you tried to color it in before you embroidered, there's a chance that you might get outside the lines, and then that wouldn't look real pretty. So if you embroider first and then color in, there's a better chance that your color will stay inside the lines since you have kind of a border going around. This is looking pretty cute. So I'm going to go ahead and complete the rest of my letters just the same way I did my first one, and we'll come back and we'll finish this up. Okay, see you in a few. Hey guys, I'm back. So I finished all of my embroidery and I colored in with a colored pencil. I kind of like the soft colors of a colored pencil, but you could use a marker or anything else. So now we're going to finish our bookmark, and there's a couple of things I forgot to tell you earlier that you needed. You don't have to have these, but they're helpful. A hole punch, and this is a brad. So what you're going to do is punch a hole in your bookmark, whichever end you want to use. You're going to cut about 4 to 6 inches of ribbon. On this one, I only wanted one ribbon, but on the one with the Kleenex box, I used two. I layered the ribbons. I think that's kind of cute, but you can do whatever you want to do. So what you're going to do is try to punch a hole in your ribbon or cut a hole in your ribbon if your hole punch won't work, but my hole punch worked on this. And then you're going to line it up. Line up the holes. There we go. And put the brad through the hole. And slip it on the other side. And then we're going to open up the brad really tight. And that should hold the ribbon in place. Yeah. There we go. That looks pretty good. I also want to give you a couple more hints about punching holes in paper. Regular paper doesn't work. Computer paper, it tears too easily, so you've got to use at least cardstock or something a little bit stronger. Also, when you punch your holes, you want to punch them maybe a little bit less than a 1/4 inch away from each other. If you punch them too close together, there's a chance that your paper will rip, so you don't want to do that. So space them a little bit less than a 1/4 inch apart. It also depends upon the thickness of your paper. This one is pretty thick, so I could probably have gone a little closer together without a chance of it tearing. But that's it. It's done. And this is the one from the Kleenex box. I think they look pretty good. I hope you had a good time. You can go ahead and leave me a review and let me know what you thought. Thanks so much. See you later. Bye.